Story 1. Update. My M30, younger brother's M28, girlfriend, F25, said something that made me, and everyone else in the room, super uncomfortable. It's been months and it's still a problem. How do I get everyone to move past this? So, I finally managed to catch up with John at our usual sports bar, the one we hit up whenever Dad's in town. We shot the breeze for a bit before I dove in and asked if everything was cool with him. He was a little lost at first, so I had to jog his memory with that weird thing at the family dinner, and instantly, the penny dropped. I asked him straight up if we were all good, if he and Jane were okay, and lastly, what our game plan should be for dealing with our delightfully nosy Catholic relatives and their ongoing gossip about the whole thing. First and foremost, he confirmed what I, and most of you, suspected. Jane was indeed talking about my cooking. Apparently, she's a huge fan, and it's actually what motivated her to come to that particular gathering in the first place. So, huge relief on that front. Nothing to do with my physique, although John did give me props for the weight I've lost since all the dinner drama unfolded. Secondly, John's awkward exit after Jane's joke wasn't about some perceived threat of her leaving him for me, or him feeling like his athlete status in the family was being challenged. Something I hadn't mentioned in my original post because I didn't think it was relevant was the difference in our financial backgrounds. John and I grew up middle class, while Jane's family is, to put it mildly, loaded. We're not talking billionaire status, but she sailed through an Ivy League education without a penny of student debt, which she's leveraged into a high-paying, specialized tech job. She and John enjoy frequent vacations, have a swanky apartment in a ridiculously expensive part of the city, the whole shebang. The kicker is, while John does well for himself professionally, his income isn't in the same ballpark as hers, and he doesn't have a trust fund to fall back on. Trying to keep up with their lifestyle has been putting a noticeable dent in his savings. Apparently, he'd been mentally preparing to have a conversation with Jane about potentially making some adjustments so he could beef up his savings and was feeling a bit anxious about how that might go. So, hearing her joke that I might be a better option, especially after hearing about my new, what he perceived as high-earning, PhD program, was the absolute worst timing. Hence the hasty retreat. I did chuckle a bit at the high-earning PhD part. It'll definitely open doors, but millionaire status isn't exactly guaranteed. Adding another layer to the awkwardness, while John and I don't have a serious rivalry, he does harbor a little insecurity about me being seen as the smart one between us. And I say this with all the love in my heart. John is an incredibly intelligent guy, but you wouldn't necessarily glean that from a casual conversation. He's a wizard with numbers and knows more about corporate finance than almost anyone I've met, regardless of age. However, he often speaks with the vocabulary and goofy charm of a frat boy. So, on top of the financial anxiety about his wealthy girlfriend potentially thinking he's not keeping up, he was also a little miffed at the idea of a doctorate further widening that perceived intellectual gap between us. He apologized for that little pang of jealousy, and I told him it was totally fine. I even joked that if anyone gave him grief, he could tell them he wasn't going to look over their stock portfolios anymore. He also mentioned that he and Jane had talked about the money situation, and she was incredibly understanding. The reason he hadn't been in touch lately was because they'd been actively searching for a more affordable apartment to move into when their current lease expires. The only remaining item on the agenda was how to handle our extended family's persistent gossip. Apparently, John wasn't even aware they were still harping on about it, mainly because whenever he and Jane see them, the conversation usually revolves around how Flo has too many piercings and swears too much. That particular piece of gossip was news to me, so we both just shrugged and said, fuck, em. We decided to continue our strategy of not letting their opinions about our partners get under our skin too much. Instead, we agreed that the four of us should make more of an effort to hang out together. And, before we wrapped up for the night, John did ask me for a few of my recipes. Comment 1. Hell, who knew communication and mutual disdain for nosy relies would settle things up? Comment 2. Whoa. And that's how you sort a problem in a mature way. Who knew? Comment 3. This one of those times when you never really know what's going on with people. Brother had a totally different issue and was really focused on his own life. In my family, Jane's joke would have had everyone laughing, with some ohs. But everyone is different. Comment 4. Sounds like you and John had a productive conversation and cleared the air. Focusing on spending more time together and ignoring the extended family's gossip seems like a solid plan. Sharing recipes is a nice touch to strengthen your bond. Story 2. My M27, autistic wife, F24, has become obsessed with joining the military. My wife and I have been married for 2 years, and we have a 2-year-old daughter. She was diagnosed with autism last year, but has always felt like she didn't quite fit in. She often develops intense but short-lived obsessions, but this current one feels different and much more serious. I work in finance and earn a comfortable living that easily supports our family. My wife works part-time making floral arrangements from home because she enjoys it, and we've always operated under the understanding that I am the primary provider. Recently, she has become completely fixated on joining the military, specifically the Navy. She spends almost all her free time watching military movies, browse military subreddits, and scrolling through military content on TikTok. We live in a town with a large military presence, so many of her friends are Army wives, and she also has a significant number of online friends on Discord who are either enlisted or military spouses. While I consider myself a reasonable person, I am absolutely against the idea of my wife enlisting. My strong feeling is that this is another one of her hyperfixations, and once the initial excitement wears off, she'll want out. I'm incredibly worried about her signing a 4-year military contract only to lose interest within a few weeks. Our daughter is very much a mama's girl and is extremely attached to my wife, experiencing noticeable separation anxiety even when they're apart for short periods. My wife has even discussed with my ML the possibility of her caring for our daughter while she's away at boot camp and has started intense workouts, seemingly to prepare herself. A few days ago, I tried to talk to her about this, telling her that I don't want her joining the Navy or any branch of the military. We own a home, have a wonderful daughter, and a good life together. It feels like she has everything she could possibly want, which is why this whole situation feels like such a shock and a bit of a personal blow. She immediately became very defensive and upset, insisting that this is what she truly wants. I'm completely at a loss. I genuinely don't understand what's driving this. How would you even begin to approach this conversation without coming across as a complete jerk? Comment 1. Thought experiment. Let's say that she agrees to hold off on any military commitments for 6 months. She spends the next 6 months training herself, researching, and otherwise preparing, and her dedication never wavers. All indications are that this is what she really wants to do. At that point, would you support her joining, or would it still be a no-go for you? No wrong answers. I'm trying to make the point that it's not clear from this post whether your opposition is because you don't want a wife in the military or because you think she'll change her mind, or both. And I think it'll really help your approach to this if you can be specific about that. You should not, for example, tell her you'll support her enlisting if she still wants to do it in 6 months if that's not true. Comment 2. Would the Navy Reserves be an option for her? Sort of scratch that itch without a full-time commitment? Does she realize that she will have to comply with orders all the time without follow-up questions? If she makes a commitment, but gets the ick 6 months in, is she going to be okay following through on her contract? Honestly, it sounds to me like she's not fulfilled. Motherhood and a part-time job may not be enough for her, and joining the military may feel like a shortcut onto other things. Comment 3. It sounds like she needs a purpose beyond motherhood. Maybe present her with other options like volunteering or going back to school. Story 3. 29F. My husband, 37M, lives with his parents full-time and only comes to our house to sleep. I honestly don't even know where to begin. The overwhelming feeling is just profound loneliness. My husband and I have been together for almost 6 years, married for just over 1. I made a huge leap of faith, moving from Canada to the US to be with him. I left behind my friends, my established life, everything familiar, because I truly believed that marriage would finally mean we'd truly share our lives. But now that I'm here, it feels like we're living completely separate existences under the same roof. He spends almost all of his time at his parents' house. Every single morning, he goes there for breakfast. He works remotely from their place all day. He even showers there and keeps all his belongings, his clothes, his computer, everything, at their house. Meanwhile, I also work remotely, but I'm completely alone in our home. Every single day. Around 3:30 p.m., I usually go over to join them for lunch. I help with the dishes, and sometimes I stay a little longer just to spend some time with him. At 6:30 p.m., we usually go to the gym together, which is one of the very few parts of the day we actually share. But on the days we don't go, I'm just at home, completely by myself, from after lunch until around 11 p.m., when he finally comes back to our house to sleep. He actually tells me I should be grateful, that I have it so easy, that I don't appreciate how good my life is. But this isn't what I imagined marriage would be like at all. It feels like I'm constantly waiting for our life together to actually begin. I try to keep things together. I handle most of the chores around our house. I try not to complain too much because, well, he's barely ever here to notice anyway. I've also been the one taking the initiative to buy furniture, decorate, slowly trying to make this place feel like a real home. He's never really contributed to furnishing or decorating, probably because he doesn't even see this place as truly his. But lately, the exhaustion is setting in. I'm losing the motivation to put any more effort into this space because, no matter what I do, it still just feels like my space, not ours. Just last weekend, he suggested we should save money and stop eating out. I agreed wholeheartedly. I actually love to cook, but I rarely get the chance because he always prefers to eat at his parents' house, saying it's easier and that his mom does a better job. So, I finally decided to make lunch for him. I was genuinely excited to do it. But for one of the dishes, I used the wrong oil. We only had olive oil at home, and he got so incredibly upset that he later even called me a moron. He also told me I needed to learn from his mother, and that I took way too long to cook. It was 3 hours including prep, cooking, and washing all the dishes. I don't think I'll ever forget how that made me feel. I also went through a miscarriage last year. Even before that happened, he wasn't really present for me. I was carrying heavy suitcases by myself. He wasn't around much. He was mostly busy with his own tasks and helping his parents with theirs. But during the miscarriage, he did show up. He was supportive, and he even cried multiple times over the loss of our baby. Afterward, he promised me that if I ever got pregnant again, he would move in and actually be present in our life. Now, my period is 18 days late, but all the pregnancy tests have been negative. When I brought up the topic of him actually moving in and being present, he suggested that the solution is for me to move into his parents' house so we can all be together. I understand that he feels a strong sense of responsibility to take care of his parents. They're getting older. He says it would make life easier for everyone. I get it, I really do. But I've already given up so much, and I desperately want my own space, a place that's truly ours. I've never really had my own space growing up. I don't even know how to properly articulate it. I just feel like I'm slowly disappearing. And when he gets upset, he sometimes resorts to swearing at me. He'll say things like, "What the hell is wrong with you?" or "You're a fucking moron," or even tell me I'm crazy. I absolutely hate it. I can't stop crying after he says things like that. I just break down. I don't think he even realizes how deeply his words cut me. The confusing part is that we also have good times. He can be sweet and funny and supportive in certain moments. We laugh together sometimes. We go to the gym. We have quiet, peaceful weekends now and then. But it feels like those fleeting moments never fully erase the weight of everything else. He also flat out refuses to have an official wedding ceremony. I've told him countless times how much it means to me, but he just dismisses it, saying I care about the wrong things. And whenever I talk about my dreams or ideas, he shuts them down, telling me I need to be practical, just find another job. My current job pays around 98,000 Canadian dollars, have a baby, help him buy another house, so we can all live with his parents. He does pay the mortgage on our house, and since I'm still earning in CAD, he says he doesn't want me to contribute financially right now because the exchange rate isn't favorable. However, he's also made it clear that he expects me to start earning in USD as soon as possible to help him with his financial goals. And honestly, I feel guilty that I can't contribute more financially right now. It makes me question if I even have the right to complain about how things feel. Like maybe I should just be quiet, be grateful for what I have, and stop asking for more. I just don't know what to do anymore. Has anyone else ever felt this way in their marriage? Update, April 1st. Thank you all so much for your replies. I've read every single one. My post is real, and I truly appreciate your support. There's a part one didn't include in my original post. His mom does have some health problems. Her kidneys aren't functioning well, and she has high blood pressure. He helps her organize her medications and monitors her blood pressure daily. He's even mentioned being willing to donate a kidney, but doctors have advised against it at this stage. However, when I stay over at his parents' place, most of the time he's just on his computer, watching TikToks, or lying in bed. He helps when asked, but it's not constant, intensive care. For example, he would help his parents buy groceries or assist his dad with tech issues on his phone. And I keep thinking, couldn't we have our own home, just a 5-minute walk away from his parents, and still be present and supportive? For those asking why I've stayed so long, it's because when we're both in a good place, he can be incredibly sweet, kind, and loving, and our conversations can be very deep and meaningful. When we were in a long-distance relationship, we'd have nights where we'd talk for hours. That kind of connection feels rare and hard to find. I've only experienced it with one other person before. Also, marrying him gave me the push I needed to finally leave my original home with my mom. I love my mom, but growing up, she was very critical and negative, similar to my husband in some ways, and we always had to tiptoe around her emotions. Our house was always messy, we didn't have regular meals, my sister and I did all the chores, and I essentially took on a parent role, working part-time to help provide for her. Even now, I send my mom 1,500 Canadian dollars every month. I've given so much of my life to her, and getting married felt like my chance to finally move out and start my own life. As of today, I didn't go over to his parents for lunch. He hasn't really contacted me, and I guess he went to the gym alone. Comment 1. Oh honey. Plenty of people have felt like this in their marriages. They post here every day. And they receive the same advice: you're going to leave him. This isn't love, and you deserve better. You can contribute financially, but he's not letting you. He's keeping you dependent on him. He's abusing and neglecting you, and life doesn't have to be like this. Comment 2. Do you believe that he's taking of his parents? Honestly? You wrote his mom cooks his food, washes dishes, does his laundry. He's treated like a prince at his parents' house. And he expects you to do that same at his house even if he's rarely there, and verbally abuses you when you don't get the same standard as his mom. If you move in and his parents get sick, who do you think will be taking care of them? The man that never cooks or you? What are the pros and cons of staying in this situation versus moving back home? Comment 3. You are only 29 years old. Leave him and go find someone who loves you and wants to spend every minute with you. Just leave. Go to Canada. Go on vacation. Did anything get away from him in this boring prison life he wants to include you in? Comment 4. Are you actually married? You said husband in the title, but later down you talked about an official marriage. This isn't a normal marriage, even if he may think it is. It's fine that he wants to help his parents. It's fine that you each work in different spaces. But what's weird is that he never actually left his parents' home. And then on top of that, he's verbally abusive? Tell him he can just stay there. You can either move back to Canada or find another place to live and start your own life, figure out the legal stuff, divorce, or whatever is needed. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and we will see you in the next video.